Everybody to our first budget meeting of the for the fiscal year of 2021-2022. That just sounds odd to say, but it's we're here. And needless to say, this is quite unusual to be doing it this way, but I guess it's kind of getting to be the norm. I'll personally be glad when it's not anymore. And I know you all will as well. But want to thank you all for taking time out of your day. I assume we have everybody here, Dr. Sears. I'm not able to see everybody right at the moment. So
yes, we have everyone here.
Okay, good. We will we'll go ahead and get started. I believe kicking us off will be our Director of Finance, Mr. Stafford, and our Assistant Superintendent. So, Chris, are you available?
Yes, sir, Mr. Hurst. I'm here.
All right. Well, we'll let you go ahead and get us started then.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Stafford, do you need the state revenue forecast or the projected state revenue pulled up?
The forecast. The forecast.
Okay. Let me pull it up and then I will.
I think my laptop's out. I think I'm trying to get in now, Dr. Sears, on my laptop. If you
okay.
Hopefully be a lot easier for me if I do.
Okay, can everyone see that?
I can see it on about a 2-inch screen right now. So yeah.
Okay, if we're ready, I'll go ahead and start. Of course, I previously sent this by email to all the school board members, so I intend to make this as brief as possible, but just wanted to give a summary of the governor's introduced amendments to the biennial budget. Of course, this is the 2021 General Assembly session, it being an odd year, so the session is shorter, and which means that it's not a new 2-year budget, but it's actually just amendments to the current 2-year budget that was adopted last year. Next slide. So the technical updates that have been made to our average daily membership, or ADM, is to reduce our projected average daily membership from 3,861 down to 3,807. And you can see the past 3 years how that's our enrollment has, or ADM has declined. Although I will say that those reductions are much less than they have been in the past 4 or 5 years. So a much more manageable decrease for us in terms of the fiscal impact of that. Okay, one of the governor's proposed amendments to the biennial budget, and perhaps this has gotten some attention, is to fund the state share of a one-time bonus payment for funded SOQ instructional and support positions in FY22. The budget provides that 2% bonus payment. The effective date of the funding is September 1st. The language does in the budget bill does say that VDOE will provide that funding for school divisions that certify that they've done a minimum average 2% bonus or equivalent action in FY22 for all school employees. Now, what that equivalent action is a minimum average 2% base salary increase instead of a bonus. They do give you, the language in the budget bill gives school divisions that option if they choose to. Okay, next slide. So the availability of this state funding is contingent on general fund revenues meeting or exceeding the budgeted forecast for FY 2021. And I think that is going to be released sometime very soon. what that forecast is. But at this point, I think things look like we would receive that funding. The projected state funding for that bonus payment is $310,000 approximately. The total cost of providing that employee bonus to all of our staff, and that includes the employer share of FICA, is about $564,000. So the local matching portion that we'd have to come up with is approximately $254,000. Now, if we were to give the equivalent action, which is a 2% salary increase, instead of the bonus, that also includes an increase in our VRS contributions for that additional salary, then the total cost goes up to $649,000. That results in a required local share of being around $338,000. And if it's a raise versus a bonus would be a recurring expense. Okay, next slide. Also in the governor's budget, and I think perhaps you remember that last year, one of the governor's priorities was to increase funding in our basic aid to reduce the ratio or the staffing ratios for guidance counselors, of course, actually increasing the number of guidance counselors that are school counselors needed in our schools. That also was removed out of the budget at the last minute when the pandemic hit and they had a special session and revised the budget. So the governor has increased that funding to increase the staffing standards. You see them in the second bullet point, what they are for each level of instruction, and that would reduce the staffing ratio in all grades or all, elementary, middle, and high to 325 to 1. And that, of course, comes through an increase in our basic aid. Next slide. The governor's budget also restores some funding for early childhood education that was removed in the special session last year. That increases our funded VPI, or Virginia Preschool Initiative, per pupil amounts from around $6,300 up to $7,600. That doesn't increase the number of funded slots. So we still keep the same number of slots, but we just get an increase in the amount of money per preschool student, which is great because that is a program that we supplement quite a bit with local funds. That also increases our VPI funding from around $427,954 up to $507,504 next year. Finally, this has gotten some attention, I know, with our legislators, because all school divisions that are dealing with reduced enrollment due to the pandemic really pushing for this. And the governor's proposed budget does have no loss funding, which basically would help supplement the loss of basic aid from enrollment losses. Now, believe it or not, Pulaski County, we're in pretty good shape with enrollment compared to a lot of other school divisions around the state. For us in FY22, that no loss funding is projected at $211,647. But also if the actual ADM exceeds their projected ADM in the amended budget, then that no loss funding is subject to be reduced. And finally, just a little, I guess, a fiscal impact of the governor's budget, mostly due to the 2% bonus or pay raise. You'll see here our increase in projected state revenue is $351,968. The local expense would be $254,327, which would be still a positive fiscal impact of the governor's budget if we do the bonus. The next slide shows you basically the same thing but if we were to do the 2% as a pay raise instead of a bonus. Now, this does not cover the cost of a step increase. This was just calculated on a flat 2% of all salaries. So that amount is still going to be to do the step increase as we've done for many years now for our teachers, that would still be a higher amount than the 338. But you'll see that we still have a positive fiscal impact from the increase in our projected state revenue, which is good that we're starting off with a positive number.
Right.
Yeah, these are just some session dates. At this point, or unless it's changed and I missed it, the session is still scheduled to be 30 days instead of 45, unless the General Assembly extends it, which I do think they will extend it, but my knowledge, that hasn't happened yet. But on the calendar, it's set to adjourn February 11th. Hopefully that was brief enough, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I don't believe we have any questions, Chris. So
Okay, thank you.
certainly, thank you. At this time, we'll go ahead and move to our elementary school budget request. I believe we're starting out, Dr. Sears, with Kreiser. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Hurst.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, will you be pulling that up, Dr. Sears?
No, I thought you could do it from memory.
Well, I can. I have a cheat sheet.
Sorry, it's taking it a minute to download.
I thought you fell asleep at the job for a minute. So we'll start with slide 2 for the instructional program and personnel. We would really like to have a restorative justice coordinator to help us reteach behaviors for some of our youngsters. We'd like an additional Title I teacher to support math and reading for at-risk students at Kreiser. And I think everyone needs these. More of the H&M leveled readers for each grade level so that we can do more guided reading groups. For school safety, we would like bullet resistant window lamination for all exterior windows. We really like a set of doors at the main entrance that will separate the hallways from the main entrance so that when a visitor comes in the door, they can't automatically go right or left and be out in the school. We really need cameras at the bus lot and the main parking lot, and we need to replace some of our non-working playgrounds, cameras that are on playgrounds. But we've had a couple of instances this year where we can follow kids to the door to go out to the buses, but once they leave that door, we can't see them. And it turned out it was kids sleeping on the bus, but we did have to look for a couple of kids, and it would have been helpful if we could have seen what bus they actually got on. So for facility and infrastructure, we really need a new concrete pad at the main entrance due to broken and missing concrete. It's just not safe. I have a picture of that on a slide to come. There is a big pothole in the carpool lane of the main driveway that our parents complain about on a daily basis. We need a new roof on the entire building. The carpet in the little theater has become dislodged in places, and I think on the next slides are the ones we'll have some pictures to show you. The first one is the issues of the main concrete pad at the main entrance. When you try to push a cart out there or someone coming in a wheelchair, those are pretty deep crevices. I know a cart, when I try to get things out of the car, will get stuck in those holes. So it would be nice if all of that could be repaved. The second picture is the big pothole. It's getting worse. I don't want to call it a sinkhole, but it is getting worse. And that's the one that parents complain about the most. The next slide shows how we need a sidewalk to the side doors. The second door has no concrete pad at the entrance at all, so leaves and mud, everything is like blowing up under the door into the hallway. And we have issues with people walking their dogs in the evenings and on the weekends. And they seem to like to walk them by the door or by the entranceways of the building, and they don't pick up after their dogs. So a couple of times we've had teachers trying to come in those side entrances who will step in something that gets tracked in. So if we could have a sidewalk from the main sidewalk at the entranceway to those two side doors instead of those little stepping stones, it would be great. The stepping stones don't go past the first side door, so there's nothing from the first side door to the second side door. This is a picture of the gates to the preschool playground. They no longer will stay closed. We had a situation last year with a preschooler, and we were advised to lock those, but as Mr. Schull told us, they can't be locked because that's also a way out for fire drills, and for safety reasons, they couldn't be locked. But if we could at least get them fixed to where they will close and the little hinge will stay on. We have two gates back there that are like that. And then every time it rains, we'll find these kind of friends around the building, just different water spots from leaks, and Jess is aware of it. Mr. Schull's aware of it. And sometimes he says it's if the rain is a blowing rain that blows sideways, that it's coming up under some of the eaves, but it is unsightly. And he does a great job of getting someone to replace the ceiling tiles, but it would really be nice if we could get that new roof. And lastly, but certainly not least, we are in desperate need of a new school sign at Bob White Boulevard. The one we have, the glass insets no longer function properly, so it's dangerous. That's why we don't change our signage very often. The last time Ms. Porterfield went out there, she had a difficult time getting the glass to lift up and to stay up, and it like cut her hand a little bit, so we don't change it very often. There is power running to the sign that we have already, so that would be a big cost that we wouldn't have to worry about if we could just get the sign. So I put a little picture in there of one that is similar to what we would like to have. So thank you to everyone and Dr. Sears for our Promethean boards. I believe just about all of them have been installed, and the teachers are very excited about using those. And lastly, on behalf of CES, we just want to say Happy School Board Appreciation Month. We do appreciate all that you do for our students, our faculty, staff, and the community. So Happy School Board Appreciation Month. Thank you. Do you have any questions about any of those?
Any questions for Ms. Dillon? I don't believe so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst.
Yes, ma'am. We'll go to Dublin Elementary.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Good evening.
You know, if you're going to see a presentation from DES, it's going to be Shamrock Greens. That's how we do it. Dublin Elementary School. All right, so okay, this is a wish list, obviously, but we like to start with a thank you. DES was the recipient of some new doors. Some of our doors have been numbered. Not all of them are finished, but they are getting numbered. Our new lights are wonderful. They make the building look amazing. And we are very thankful for our Chromebooks. All of those we know cost the school division money, and we really appreciate it. So moving into the list. Now, first I want to say that Mr. Schull and his folks are amazing at keeping our building looking great. it's the best it's looked in years. We stood right in front of the doors to the main office and looked down both hallways. Mr. Peterson and I did today, and the hallways just sparkled. So what we're requesting here is just kind of geriatric building maintenance versus the building not being kept up the way it should. It's actually being kept up very well. First, repaving the upper parking lot. There is grass growing in areas of the parking lot, and there are tire marks in those areas that tend to gather water, which is ice and snow in these cold months, which can lead to slip and trip hazards. There's also a metal pipe that at the entrance to the upper parking lot, that if you take the curve a little too tight, you'll run over a sawed off end of a metal pipe, and I'm afraid it's going to get somebody's tire one day. This is not new information for you all. We present it often, but to pave the gravel lot, if we had unlimited amounts of money, we would love for that to happen. The parent drop off and pick up entrance, that path there, which just would make it easier for snow removal, and the bus loop. Because we do get potholes created in the parent pickup gravel entrance, and that would help with that. Air conditioning and heat updates, just reminders, the office, the gym, and the cafeteria and the kitchen are the most important. Obviously, if we had to prioritize, the gym, the cafeteria, and the kitchen are more important than the office, we can make do. But those are still areas of the building that either need air conditioning because they don't have it, like the gym, cafeteria, and kitchen, or need updates to those. Concrete fixes to front entrance sidewalk and drainage. I've discussed this with Mr. Schull. It is a much harder fix than just helping dig out the drainage. It's when it was set up, it wasn't set up to drain appropriately. So it just creates kind of a little pond in the front of the school on our sidewalks. So as you can imagine, in the wintertime when it gets frozen, lots of little feet head straight for it. And we have to spend a lot of time keeping little feet out of it. And then plumbing and water, I know Mr. Schull has mentioned plumbing updates coming to DES, but I felt like I should mention that we do have some plumbing and water issues that lead to some brown water coming out of certain faucets. One thing I failed to mention when I started this presentation is I did reach out to our teachers and staff and ask them if they had anything that they wanted considered as part of this presentation. So much of what you see, well, all of what you see on this slide has been suggested by teachers. They love IXL and use it in their classrooms face-to-face with students and on virtual instruction days. And they are requesting a continued license for IXL in reading, math, science, and social studies. They want to make sure that they have continued use of iReady as part of the reading series for elementary schools. It's really great to help with students who have needs for basic reading skills. And the purchase of additional math intervention kits, so that I know we have 2 per school, but if we could have more, we could have more teachers sharing them and more teachers using them. Technology, we are thrilled with the technology we have gotten this year. We just have a few things that might make life more helpful. Additional cameras are always helpful. We have lots of blind spots in the building, and it would help to eliminate those inside and outside of the buildings. Our PE teachers always ask for speakers and a sound system for the gym, a projector and a projector screen so that they can do more interactive activities with their students and don't have to shout when they have multiple classes in there at the same time. Of course, this year they're doing PE in the classrooms and they are doing an amazing job with that. One thing we found with the Chromebooks is charging them. Sometimes they come back uncharged. So if we could have charging stations at various points throughout the building. We did purchase at the beginning of the school year, DES purchased some surge protectors that had multiple plugins for classrooms, but it would help if we had some more help with that. And then much like Kreiser, we would love a new sign to go out in front of the school. Our sign is very difficult to change. It's very high off the ground. And as Mrs. Dillon shared, you have to hold the front layer off of it so you can put your hands up in it to add the letters, and that is very difficult to do. You have to kind of maneuver your head in between the two and then slip your hands in there. So it gets a little difficult, but if money were not an issue, definitely a new sign would be ideal. And then this slide is stuff that can most certainly wait, but we wanted to add it just because, you know, as we're looking at updating DES and you know, giving it a nice polish and things like that, these are things that came up as needs that I thought I would share. Gradual replacement of some classroom furniture. We have some teachers that are using desks that are very small and very old, and it would be nice if we could have some kind of schedule to replace those. Student desks and tables, especially the student tables. We have some classrooms that are using some very outdated tables, and it might be helpful to have some kind of schedule or a way to update those periodically as we move through, so many at a time. Office furniture, I put information in here for the principal's office, but if it's being considered, the principal can wait. I would much rather everyone else get theirs first. But we're kind of a hodgepodge of office furniture right now, where we've gathered from folks who were leaving and got this. You know, we need some filing cabinets that lock for sensitive personnel files, for bookkeeping. Our bookkeeper right now, and Mr. Stafford has been amazing, and so have our maintenance staff, to try to help our bookkeeper get what she needs to lock her desk. But the hardware she needs is not hardware we can purchase, so it's a new desk purchase. So, you know, the bookkeeper needs a desk that can lock so she can keep some of her bookkeeping materials in there. And our front office assistant inherited the office furniture in there, and bless her heart, she doesn't even have a place to really put paper to write on it. So, you know, we waited to ask for this, thinking that there might be some opportunities out of the old middle schools for office furniture. But this is something we did want to put on here. It is a need, but we know that the office will definitely be a last thought, and we want it to be. We want the kids and the teachers to have what they need, but we did want to include it as a need. And then additional signage would be helpful, just to help directionally get people into the building. We have people coming in the backwards way all of the time, and some additional signage might be helpful to mitigate that. I really appreciate your time. Do you have any questions for me at this time about what I've presented or about anything else?
I think we're good, Ms. Webb. Thank you very much.
All right, great. Thank you all very much.
Absolutely. Brings us to Pulaski Elementary, Mr. Price.
Good evening, guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
So, what I like to claim the fact that, first year doing this, I just, thanks to all the other principals and everybody kind of guided me along this. I was able to solicit a lot of information from the faculty and staff. And I also went ahead and contacted Jess and Josh about, so some of the stuff that I did put on here, we've already kind of worked it out, or in the process of kind of, already just started discussing it, how some of these things can be obtained. So, so our budget request inside the building, 4 security cameras for student safety, discipline information, and monitoring. We have some severe blind spots in the 2nd grade hallway, in the 3rd grade hallway, and of course in the 3rd and 5th grade hallways. In the past couple of years that I've been here, there's been a couple of times to where, some incidents that have happened, and, we basically go to look at the film or the camera, and it doesn't show. And also in today's day and age of, wanting to be a little bit safer and everything, those are just 4 major blind spots that we would kind of like to be able to have some eyes on at all times, because it is very useful in solving a lot of, things that happen in the hall. A lot of times it provides, information that's almost 100% non-disputable. So we kind of like that. Now the badge reader, Jess and the guys put a couple at some of the other doors. We're just asking for one more, the keyless entry. A lot of our teachers that teach in the 5th and 4th grade hallways, where our parking lot is, it's straight across, it's easier access for them getting into the building. And plus, like when we're coming in from drills and things like that, just a little bit quicker access. A lot of those teachers wanted that. The teacher requested platform websites. I sent this out, and this is the only responses that I got for this. MobyMax, I was happy to hear that the virtual teachers were able to pick up MobyMax. We were not planning on renewing it due to the fact that the numbers of teachers, but I still want to keep that on the list because we have a couple. Spelling City and Words Their Way were the other two that came up that teachers use. At times we were able to provide this through either PTO or site-based funds, or the fact that technology department and the school system provided that for us. But those were the three that came up. I will have to say I'm proud to say that a lot of the platforms that we've requested we were able to work out, like Reading A to Z, Raz Kids, also an expensive one, but a good one that they like to use, Brain Pop. So there's a lot of platforms we were able to kind of get in there with our site-based funds and everything. So, but that's what they requested. The technology request, I talked to Josh with technology, 4 new document cameras. I know sometimes you need a subscription with that to go along with it, but would like to at least have one per grade for the upper grades. We also had a request for a Promethean board for a 4th grade teacher. I've also been told that that's in the works of getting some of those put in here at Pulaski Elementary. Extra chargers for the Chromebooks. I was talking to Josh, and basically site funds will be used for those, just to kind of keep some, because we have kids coming to school, and they lost their chargers, so we're just going to buy some to kind of keep on hand. And I think some other schools have already done this as well. Extra projector bulbs, you can never have enough, so I think we're going to try to use some site funds to buy in bulk and just have some ready. And then we did have a smart board request that the technology department's kind of put together in various ways, because there was a leaking tile that leaked all over that board. So she was requesting for another one, but they've kind of fixed that up for her. But if we get another significant rainstorm or, like with snow or everything, we've kind of moved things around, but there was some water damage in that classroom. All right, custodial request, I was able to talk. The 2-way tape, 4 tape, and caster wheels, that's already been taken care of. We're already in the process of order those. I got with Mr. Earls, and so we're good on those actually. So, but that's what they requested. All right, now the big ones, the heavy hitters. Personnel requests. Once again, adding a full-time counselor. We already have one, but if you look at that number, come tomorrow, we're going to be sitting on 521 kids. And we do share a counselor with Snowville. Megan comes every Tuesday, and she's done a phenomenal job. But it's just, we're taking her away from Snowville. We never know if something happens on a Tuesday. They might need a counselor there. But it's just, we have a lot of kids with significant needs that I really truly feel that that full-time counselor would kind of help, because Mrs. Dowdy, you think about it, that's a lot of kids for one counselor to deal with, but she does a phenomenal job with it, never complains. Like other teachers have said, Title I reading, we have, that goes in the fact of sheer numbers. I'm basing this on just the fact of the size of our school. The Title I math that we've been able to have this year has been a godsend. What they've been able to do math-wise with these kiddos, I mean, it's been phenomenal. And we were down one, but we would like to kind of get another one back to where we have 4 reading and 1 math. And then, of course, possible additions. We don't know how the future is going to hold with retirement and things like that, but just to consider, like, if our numbers, like, in the past, we can average up to 91 to 105 kindergartners. This past year, we had a significant dip. But the last couple of weeks, of course, where we attempted the transfer of Draper students, we're already back above that number before we transferred those students out. So we
Mike, did you say you guys are already above the number you were before the transfer of the Draper students?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yeah,
How many was transferred? Do you recall, or Dr. Sears, do you know?
around 22
Okay.
was because, and also it was fine. Parents were allowed, if they could provide transportation, and a lot of kiddos, a lot of those Snowville kids were 4th and 5th graders that had
Sure.
spent their whole entire school career here at Pulaski Elementary, and as long as the attendance problems didn't show up, we let them stay. They did really well this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have that blinking vacancy sign going on.
Yes, sir.
And we'll take them. We'll take them.
Hey, Mike. Yes, I have a question. I'm more concerned about, you said you had a smart board damaged by a leak. I mean, do we know about the leak? Have we heard? The first I've heard about the leak. So what leak?
Yes, sir.
Roof leak?
Tony, it's I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is it a roof leak?
It's something that coming from it's an adjoining, I'm not big on maintenance speak, but it's like it's one of the rooms where there was a meeting of a joint and something that's protruding from the ceiling. It's when the rain comes in sideways in a certain way, and it comes down, and evidently that the rain goes down a couple beams and across and then down. So yes, sir, it has been fixed. So far it has not started back again this year, but at the beginning of the year, across the summer, she came back to the room, and her smart board was, it had brown water all over it.
Okay, as long as it's been fixed. That was,
yes, sir. We reported.
I'm just hearing leak, and I want to make sure it's fixed.
Mr. Price, I would also say I wouldn't buy the projector bulbs in bulk, because we do intend to try to change them all out for Promethean boards, and in which case you'll just be spending a lot of money for something that'll never be used.
Okay. We'll do about like 5 at a time. Is that a good number?
I don't know what you're going through. I would order them as they need to be replaced until we get the Promethean boards. I wouldn't order any to keep in stock.
Yes, sir. And that's it. Thank you guys for all you do.
Absolutely, Mike. Any other questions from board members for Mr. Price? Thanks again, Mike.
Thank you.
Ms. Singh, Riverlawn Elementary.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
Good.
All right. So I also kind of surveyed the faculty and staff as to what their budget needs, like they perceived that we needed. And so this is what we came up with. Riverlawn is maintained, like we have the best custodial staff and maintenance. So it's maintained. So I don't worry about the building wear or tear. So most of ours is coming from academic requests and technology requests. The first one would be an elementary art teacher, music teacher, and this came about from our music teacher. She brought up, she goes, every other county around us have art and music every 9 weeks at the elementary level. So we thought we would ask. It would make scheduling easier for the elementary. This year was a balancing act for the scheduling, having to share the art and music with only the 4 days a week. So we thought, if we had all the money in the world, that would be great to focus on the fine arts. Our gifted resource teachers stretched thin. So if we could work on getting that position reinstated or, work on that. And I don't know if you guys know, but Riverlawn has this little pocket of ELL students that has blossomed over the past year. We have students that are Hispanic, Spanish speaking, Mandarin Chinese, and here lately we have students that speak Arabic. So we are dying for ELL resources. So whatever that could be out there that could provide us academically to help the teachers, whether it be provide coaching for the teachers on how to teach the ELL population, resources, and then that community outreach we're finding is almost impossible. Dana has been a huge support for the Spanish speaking community. She'll just meet me and we'll show up at their house and she'll do the translation for me. But as far as the other two languages, it's been hard to reach out to those families. So then for technology requests, it sounds like you guys have already read our minds and know we want to begin replacing our smart boards with the Dell boards or the Promethean boards. Teachers love those and they work great with the Chromebooks. And also the teachers are finding with the virtual instruction, the IPVO document cameras. I've bought several for teachers at Riverlawn, but it's going to get expensive to sustain because they're like $70 a piece. So if, you know, ideally we would like for every teacher to have one of those because they've been using it to teach with. And then next, our school safety request. This came from the walkthrough that the sheriff's office did a couple years ago. I just keep adding it on because hopefully eventually we'll get to it. The bullet resistant window lamination for our exterior doors that is low enough and large enough to deny entry, you know, like around our cafeteria is what I think about, where we have the big windows, back there in the library where we have those big windows. And then once that's installed, we'd like to do the window lamination for the interior classroom doors. And then the last thing for grounds request, our pre-K teachers for the past 3 years have been doing fundraisers to raise money for new playground equipment. And they were going to finish the fundraiser this year, but you know, with the whole COVID thing, we haven't been doing fundraisers. So they have the remaining funds left of $1,749.21. And so it'd be great if you guys could help us out just to get that finished. And then we're also asking, we did some research on outside people coming in to install the playground equipment, and we found out that that was going to be additional $4,000 to $5,000. So if we could ask our maintenance department to install it, then that would be a budget savings.
Yeah.
And that's about all we have.
Any additional questions from the board for Ms. Sink? Jess, I got, go ahead, Ms. Cox.
Thank you. Ms. Sink, you mentioned a music teacher, an art teacher. Could you go over that again, just briefly, because you have a music teacher now, correct?
We do. So right now, the way it's set up, elementary share music and art teachers. We have, I believe, 2 art teachers for the whole county and 2 music teachers for the county. So the way it works, because we have to share, we get each school gets 2 a semester of art and a semester of music. They don't get it for the full year. And so the request would be that we would be able to supply an additional music art teacher to where each elementary school could have art all year and music all year instead of a half a year.
And Mrs. Cox, if I may say, I failed when Mrs. Sink said that. I realized I failed to put that in my presentation, but I received that request from an art teacher. So we've heard it from music and art as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jess, I've got a question. Have we received or have we done any pricing on this window lamination for exterior windows?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yeah, I looked into it back during the safety audits. I had a company come to the high school and look at the high school.
I was thinking we had, yeah.
Just the front entrance doors around just the side lights and the doors at the high school going to be 17 grand. That's just if you just look at the entry doors at the high school, the lights, the door lights, and the windows around that where you can see into the office and the little side lights, it was about $17,000.
Okay. You're talking, when you say the front entrance to the high school, are you talking about into the cafeteria? Or are you talking about the main entrance? Okay.
Just the main building, and that's not a lot of glass.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, that's higher than what I remembered. I remembered I was thinking you had priced that before, and but it's been a while.
I'm pretty sure it was it was about 17 grand to do all that around the front, and that included the CTE side. Right. I mean, it was a little more glass, but yeah, it's about 16 and change, so a little over 8 for each entry.
Yeah. Yes. That's incredibly high. Okay.
It may
Thank you.
become-
Yeah. Any other questions for Ms. Singh? Okay. It takes us to Snowball. Ms. Shrewsbury.
Okay, good evening. I'll start off this evening by saying that my budgetary requests are for 2021, not 21-22, not 2021. If there's anything I could do in terms of budget requests for this year that have not already been done, it would be most likely to wave a magic wand and make COVID disappear. I think we could all agree on that one for sure. Before I begin, I'd like to just give a shout out to some of the things that have happened that we definitely are thankful for. Want to give a huge shout out to our technology department. The Chromebooks obviously have been instrumental in being able to deliver the virtual instruction. But above and beyond that, our ITRTs, we had a teacher leave a teaching position here to fill an ITRT position with the division, and they have just all done a spectacular job. So a shout out to them. They have had a lot put on them in terms of helping to train our faculties and have just did an amazing job with that. So tonight's presentation I broke down into 3 areas. So first, looking at instructional and technology needs. Next slide. So starting out with instructional needs, one thing that we requested last year and would like to request again this year with our new reading program, simply consumable workbooks. That's something that sounds trivial, but when we go to, it just consumes a lot of paper. Trying to pull things off the HMH site, which is good, is time consuming. So for the student and the teacher benefit, just to have those workbooks in the classrooms would be great. Several of the elementary principals have already spoken to educational subscriptions. I believe Mike spoke to Brain Pop, and then I also listed Education Galaxy. Mary Rash and I spoke earlier about this, and I think in looking across the division, it would be nice for us all to maybe come up with a comprehensive list of subscriptions, maybe that we could even get a better deal on if it was a division license as opposed to per individual school. Brain Pop was running anywhere, I believe, from $1,200 to $1,500 for a school license, and that was just something that our school could not continue to sustain. So again, looking at those subscriptions to online, as many online resources as we could get would be great. And then I listed in the green square just simply monies for additional remediation in reading and math. And I know the school board office is looking into that. And honestly, we don't know what that's going to look like, but as our needs, as we are beginning to initially assess the student needs in reading and math and where those gaps are and how we want to make greater strides perhaps than what we're making at this point. I think just the flexibility of being able to say we need to order more, for example, consumable workbooks, or can we pull together another supplemental program to support our existing program. So a very general request, but just something that we know as we look forward to next year, it's going to be a balancing act trying to teach new material while continuing to basically make up for the time lost due to COVID. Technology needs, I think you all have heard from several folks, just the need for Promethean boards in our classrooms. We are slowly starting to find that our smart boards don't orient right. I mean, just things that naturally happen with the age of technology. So we're starting to see that with our smart boards. We are we have our teachers on a cycle to replace projectors and different technology. If we could get the Promethean boards, it would eliminate all of that. and really just centralize our technology in the classroom. So definitely want to bring that up again. Next slide. And then personnel. I believe Mike spoke to that just a few minutes ago. We desperately need a full-time guidance counselor back here at Snowville. Mike has been very generous this year with us having a 4-day week and letting Megan be here 3 days as opposed to trying to do 50-50 and 2 days there and 2 days here. It creates a hardship on Mike and Pulaski Elementary, and it creates a hardship here at Snowville. And certainly while recognizing that we are smaller, the mental health of our students is not any less significant than it is at other schools. We've been in various situations, one just recently where, we needed her on a Tuesday, and if that student doesn't have access to additional counselors from outside agencies, then there's no one to work with particular children. So just really want to, above and beyond anything that I mentioned tonight, just express the importance of us feeling like that is necessary back here at Snowville Elementary School. And then facility requests. A lot of this is already, the wheels are already in motion in terms of the replacement of the intercom down in the bottom right-hand corner. Our intercom system actually went out a couple of weeks ago, and the ongoing joke was that, we knew that we needed it replaced. So, it was perfect timing to get a brand new one, but they were able to fix that. And Josh, if I'm not mistaken, we are on the schedule to have that done at the end of the year. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're still in the May-June timeframe for that replacement.
Okay. So thank you in advance for that. When I spoke last year about that, the need was primarily to make sure that we were having the intercom system carried out into our gym area, simply because from a safety standpoint, if something happened, we could not access that end of the building. Replacement of the roof, we're already on that capital improvement list. There's not anything that anyone else hasn't said that I can say differently, other than when it rains, it leaks, and it's nothing that maintenance hasn't taken care of in a very timely manner. We just know as we look into the future that that's not going to get any better. And then consideration of additional parking for the future. I believe Jess spoke to that last year. Not my top priority, but something I definitely want to keep on the list. And then paving of the track around our field outside. Even if it's something as simple at this point as laying gravel, as you go around that track, it's basically just not been maintained. It's hard to spray, and then there are different depths of where the gravels are. It just hasn't really been touched in quite a long time. So if we could have someone out to at least establish a starting point, we know that the word paving in and of itself is going to be expensive. But if we could simply start with the gravel with the goal of paving in the future, that would be great as well. And then just to echo what others have said, we recognize that February is School Board Appreciation Month. So we just want to say thank you to you all for everything that you have done and continue to do for us. Any questions for me tonight? Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you, Ms. Shrewsbury.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Jess, I know you'll know, or either you or Chris Staff will know, Promethean Boards. What's the cost of a single Promethean board?
I think it's about $3,000.
Actually, all in, if you get a stand, it's $4,200. The last couple that we've been purchasing, the company has given us special pricing. So we buy two, get one so we get three for around $8,100. So we're checking to see if we can get pricing like that for the other ones as well. But if we just buy a single, it's about $4,200.
Okay, all right. So you're saying?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Three for $8,100. Go ahead, Dr. Cash.
Do you have a number of how many we still need in the county? How many teachers have requested? So I know we've got to replace the smart boards because that's old technology now. How many do we need?
We need about 135. Same with the IPEVO desktop cameras. We've already started looking at making that a standard desktop item for all the schools. So we're gathering those numbers as well.
Okay.
We feel pretty good about our ability to finish replacing all the smart boards with Promethean boards with the next round of stimulus money that's coming. We've still got to get a few pieces in place, but we're hopeful that we can make that happen. And before the beginning of the next school year, that all of our classrooms will have Promethean boards in them.
So that's kind of what I was curious about with the next round of monies coming in, if we were going to be able to do that or not. So you answered my question, Dr. Sears.
Good. Thank you.
And I will say that prior to Mr. Taylor coming on as Director of Technology, I believe it was a year before that, we did a technology audit as to the needs of programs and that teachers wanted and needed in their classrooms. And with the use now, or the increase now of Prometheans and our Chromebooks, we probably need to go ahead and do another technology review and audit that, Mr. Taylor, this spring, and just see where we are and figure out what the needs are at this point in time.
Correct.
And just real quick, while we're on elementary schools, I want to touch base on what we have in store. A couple projects that we've got going on. We purchased the lights, the LED lighting upgrade for Snowville. So this summer, hopefully we'll do that entire school, much like we did DES. And we've purchased brand new interior classroom doors for all of DES. So to match the honey oak that's in the new addition, and to get rid of the large door lights that the security audit called out. These will have the smaller door light that you can cover.
Jess, I have a question. I was going to wait until the end, but that open gate at Chrysler, to me, that just seems like an easy fix. How hard would it be? I'm sure that it's much harder than I imagine, but how hard would it be to get a gate that'll close and lock and install it?
We can't lock it because
shut.
That'll shut. Just put a work order in. I'm sure we can fix it. I haven't looked at it myself. Walked over and put but it probably not that hard.
Yeah,
it looks like but we can probably still fix it.
Yeah, that probably needs to be fixed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, preschoolers are fast.
Yeah.
I've been chasing a 3-year-old around all day. I need to get her back in school.
Dr. Cash, you subbed in 4th grade. We can certainly make a preschool vacancy for you to sub at DES a day.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yes, that's what the 4th grade, that's probably about as young as I think I can go. I loved them. They were adorable. And I will come back and do that class anytime. But I think that's the youngest. That's the youngest I could do.
You did a great job. Thank you for that.
There was no problem. I enjoyed it.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Shrewsbury? All right. If not, we'll go to, I think we're ready for middle school. And Ms. Smith, of course, she's got a brand new school, so we shouldn't really need anything there, should we?
Right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I have a very short list. Yay! Yeah, our needs are pretty minor and more so on the instructional side because our building is awesome. Thank you all so much for school board for promoting, our building and all those who supported us. Thank you, Jess Scholl, for putting up with us the first couple months he was here in the next office and easy to find. But yes, and the ongoing work that's still happening. So we appreciate everything. I don't have a cute and fancy presentation, but I try to keep it short and sweet. Basically for our, now that every student is working either virtually or online or on Chromebooks or how we're working, we're going to need to put our funds more towards software. And I'm getting new requests all the time from teachers for new ideas for software or adding some that we've had in the past. For students to use. So the request on here mostly ask the teachers, what are your wish lists, and send to me, and then we can figure out. So the items listed on here for software and technology are in addition to what we already have. And I just guessed the approximate amount that would be in addition to our regular budget. And there might be something we can fit in our budget, but we will, of course, we'll know to next year. But after I sent this in, I got another request from a teacher today about another online program for science. So I'm like, okay, so I imagine we're going to have a lot more software requests coming in, just because now that the kids are one-to-one and on a electronic device, there's lots of software out there. Benefits to that though versus textbooks is textbooks, when you purchase them, if they get outdated, you have to purchase new textbooks. But if it's online, it can be updated, pretty quickly. And a lot of the technology companies are pretty savvy now in updating and adding new things all the time because they want to keep their customers happy. But our biggest expense probably for instructional needs is mostly software and technology items that teachers are asking for. Things like Study Island, which other schools have used in the past, but science is the department actually made the most requests, then a couple for math. Materials and equipment, I asked to send me your wish list items too. One group asked for copiers upstairs. In our grade houses, we have up and downstairs, and we have a copier downstairs in each workroom. So each building has their own copier. I'm not sure if this was specifically from the SPED department or if this was a combination, but they were looking to put a separate, copier for, I guess, for special ed. That's how I interpret what they're asking for. And I don't know if it's because the stairs are killing them. I don't know. Going up and downstairs to make copies, I don't know. But that was a wish list request. So I said, I'll add it to our list, but not a major deal. One of the main concerns, and I know I've talked to Jess Scholl about this before, and figured I'd put it on here because it might be either this year's budget or next year's budget, but shade for the windows. We discovered an issue with the classrooms that are on the very ends of each building, upstairs and downstairs. I listed the room numbers. They're faced differently. So there are windows that are at the very top. In the afternoons when the sun comes in, it shines right on the Promethean board and they can't see. So I've heard this over and over again.
Wow.
So one was just to put a shade in those windows, or that window clings that are tinted or something, just to block out the light that comes in. Of course, we wouldn't have known this, when constructing the building, but we've discovered since then. And believe me, I hear it all the time. So I said, I will put it on our list. Like I heard it again today. I said, I will put it on our list. A large bulletin boards, each classroom for our large white wall. I know something we discussed before. We just wanted to put it on the list to remind, because we do have those large bulletin boards. But large spaces on the walls in each classroom. We've asked teachers not to put anything on those spaces, because if you put tape and things like that, it could pull the paint off. So but teachers are eager to get a large bulletin board so they can post things up in the classroom on that board. More shelves in the storage rooms in each grade house. Each grade house does have some shelving that goes around 2 walls, I guess you could say, but even some more shelving and maybe some larger, those utility shelves that we've used in other parts of the building, just to, so folks or more storage items can go. Right now, a lot of things are on the floor in some of those spots, are just some storage shelves. And that's pretty low expense. And then in the band room, they've discovered while using the auditorium that the sound between the band room and the auditorium, the sound dampeners that we currently have apparently don't drown out enough of the sound. So while they're doing their bucket drumming right now, or some of the instruments, if you're in the auditorium, you could hear it pretty clearly. So they asked me to put on the wish list if there's possibility of creating some more sound dampening between, because the band room happens to be right, butts up against the auditorium. So not anything major, pretty low expenses, but things concerned. One major request we have for personnel, we've discovered this year, we have an athletic director, but it's also activities director too. And that schedule is pretty busy, busier, I think, than we anticipated before. So we're trying to see if it's possible next year, if we can make that person the full-time athletic and activities director. When we say activities director, they will also be coordinating with any programs that we have in the school, and also for any after-school programs that are occurring too, to coordinate that. But the sports that's happening this year, we've added more teams. That has really taken up a lot of time. Currently, we're using a PE teacher that has been part of their time, majority of their time as a PE teacher, and part of their time as an athletic director, and not able really to do the other programs. But this
Rebecca, is your AD, is he back full time then?
Yes, I'm so glad.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. But he is excited to be back. I knew he didn't want to be out, but yes, he's definitely back, and back in full force too. So he's, in fact, already sent me schedules for the next set of games. So we're ready to roll.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yes. And if he's able to move in that position, then we of course need another PE teacher, and preferably a female, not trying to be gender specific, but we have one female teacher and 3 males. But if we can balance that out because of the number of females that we have here at school too, that would be awesome. But that's all I have. Nice, short and sweet.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Smith? Make sure that teachers keep tape off the walls, Ms. Smith. Jess Shull breaks out in hives if he walks into a classroom there at that new school and, and sees tape on the walls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he kind of freaks out a little bit.
I would too.
Did you hear me, Rebecca? We've already purchased the bulletin boards. We have them in storage. A large bulletin board to match the gray and stainless boards that we classrooms. We've got to hang them.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay.
We purchased them for every classroom. We own them.
Yay. Thank you. That's good news. Check that off my list. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again, Rebecca. That'll take us to the high school. Ms. Bowling, you're up.
We have CTE first, Mr. Hurst.
Okay, well, we'll go with Miss Atkinson. You got any news you want to share with us, Miss Atkinson?
Sure. So over Christmas, I got engaged. So I am very anxious to hear about next year's school calendar so that I can plan events that won't interfere with the school year. So well, thank you for that opportunity. To continue on the positives, for the past few years, I have put in a request for an updated welding lab because that's one of our strongest programs. And last week, we had contractors and subcontractors in for the pre-bidding process for the welding lab. So that's very visibly not on my request list because it's on the way. So very, very excited for that. To go into the request list for next year, this is in priority order for what we're looking for. And first and foremost, we would love to see a career development counselor brought on staff. Our school counselors focus so much on students' mental health and well-being, and it would be really nice to have a person who is focused on their life after high school and making sure that they're getting into the courses that they need, working with New River and making sure that students are getting into the dual enrolled classes that they need to move on once they're done with us. And that would be a position that would serve 6th through 12th grade. The next request is to look at increasing the number of days on CTE teacher contracts. A lot of our surrounding districts have teachers on 10.5 or 11-month contracts if they are CTE teachers. We'd like to look at having them be 10-month and 20-day contracts for our CTE staff that have the summer workshops. Those are usually about a week long. And then our career and technical student organizations, while all of those contests are virtual this year, we're hoping that they will be back to face-to-face competitions. And those happen over the weekend sometimes for our teachers. I'd like to look at our administrative assistant moving to a bookkeeper salary. Just with the amount of money that comes through that office, added to the breakdown of the money that she manages each year. This year we received about $17,000 in CARES Act money. So she's managing that on top of the spreadsheet that I have on the request list. We also would like to look at adding another technology education teacher to our CTE staff. We were able to offer a robotics course for the first time this year, 1 course per semester, but our current technology education teacher teaches 4 blocks every single year. So we aren't able to add any robotics classes to our program, and we could fill an entire full-time position at the high school to offer more robotics classes, especially once they get fired up over, the courses that are offered at the new middle school.
At the middle school, yeah.
So we'd also like to look at an administrative assistant to add to the staff to help manage the CTE Center office, to be able to answer phone calls, make sure that the door gets opened, manage student office visits, help with yonder pouch opening and closing throughout the day. And then we are requesting $15,000 to update the cracked and broken fiberglass on the greenhouse. I went in over the past month and helped take care of our aquaponics tomatoes that are growing. And we have a couple of tiles with the fiberglass that have peeled back. And so we actually had snow coming in the greenhouse while we're trying to grow our plants there. So if we could get that replaced, I think that would also help on some of our energy costs. And then last year, Mr. Stafford was able to find some money at the end of the year to start replacing our student desks. And we were able to completely redo the student tables and chairs in 5 classrooms. So I'm asking for $30,000 this year to redo another 5 classrooms there. And then just for future years, we are still looking at going after the Claude Moore Scholarship, which would fund an additional health and medical science teaching position for 5 years. But I wanted to keep that on your radar because we would have to have support from the school board that we would continue that position after the grant ran out. And I'd also like to start considering a STEM or tech ed teacher at the elementary school levels. And the idea behind that would be to build some excitement about robotics and STEM. And because we're able to use Perkins funds for 5th graders, I'd like to look at that being a position that's shared between all 5 elementary schools, maybe one day a week. That teacher rotates around to add another elective to 5th graders. And that's all I've got.
How many robotics classes do we have going right now, Megan?
We will have, we finished one this year. Mr. Miller picked up that course, and Ms. Smith worked with us to get Mr. Farmer's class or his schedule free. So he's actually coming up at the end of the day and teaching a 4th block, intro to robotics technology. So we have one section happening this semester as well.
And how many students did we have enrolled?
I believe it's at 19 right now. It's got a cap of 20 students, so it's an OSHA regulated class because of the lab. But it'll be at capacity before we get the 10-day drop ad period done.
Rebecca, do you know how many we have enrolled at the middle school?
Not for this semester yet. I'll have to check that tomorrow, but we do also have, his max is 20 here also, but he also has virtual students. And I think the last time I looked, it was like 26 virtual at the last count, but he might have a few more in that class.
Okay.
Is it difficult to hire those instructors because you're hiring them away from industry where they can make a much larger staff? We were lucky to get Mr. Farmer.
So there are a couple of routes. We do have some schools in Virginia that offer technology education as an undergraduate program. So I would be reaching out to them. The technology education endorsement is a praxis credential. So if there's a teacher that's interested, they would have to sit for and pass the praxis, but it's an add-on endorsement for a teaching license.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Atkinson? Okay, thanks, Megan. Brings us to Ms. Bowling.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Jenna.
Thank you for allowing us to do this. And like Mr. Price said, this is my first time up doing this budget request. So there are some lofty things that we are asking for in here. So Dr. Sears, if you don't care to go ahead and go to the next slide. I will say the first day on the job, I got 2 phone calls concurrently running on my phone, one from Jess Scholl and one from Chris Stafford, and that was in regards to upgrades in our little theater and desk furniture in one of our pods. So a big shout out and thank you, kudos, whatever it may be, for all of those things, including our Chromebook. So that's been a great change here at the high school. Go ahead, Dr. Sears. So just looking at enrollment numbers, if you can see those 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, our graduating class being much smaller than what you'll see on the next slide, with a total of 1211 currently. And then on the next slide, you have 32 more students projected for next school year, and that's just looking at the middle school numbers coming up. So then all of these things that we have within this presentation are based on these numbers. Go ahead. So maintaining our current staffing is a major priority here at the high school. This school year, we have managed to kind of solidify some roles here at the high school and streamline some processes just to make them more productive and more efficient for students. We currently are asking to fill a position of SRC Proctor. That's a 2021 school year fill. We would like to look at hiring, and I think Ms. Beckner has worked with us for a science teacher to be replaced, but not until next school year. And then to bring back an art teacher position, and then to be added to that would be a PE teacher, which we'll see in another slide. So as far as an additional art teacher, we have historically here at PCHS had 2 art teachers until the 1920 school year. Both of those art teachers happened to relocate out of state, I believe. And we hired one. Ms. Kelling has been a wonderful addition to Pulaski County High School. It is amazing the things that she has stepped in and done. In fact, this school year, she teaches 4 blocks per semester, which means she does not get a planned block within her contracted 8:30 to 4 hours. But she has been an awesome asset here, and we would love to be able to replace that second art teacher position, obviously for multiple reasons. One of those being that art can count as a sequential elective, and for students seeking advanced studies diplomas, used to, their foreign language would fulfill that requirement, and that no longer will fulfill that. Therefore, we're looking for other ways that students seeking advanced studies diplomas can get the sequential elective for graduation requirements, plus just continued fine arts electives for students. Go ahead. And then again, the additional PE teacher. Historically, we have had 4 until last school year when we did have our 3, and when 1 PE teacher left, we replaced that with a 1 additional block. So we had 3 PE teachers last year, and then 1 additional block that we shared with the middle schools. Mr. Burchett came and taught 1 block here. And one of the major reasons for that being we do teach driver's ed. Those are students learning how to drive on the road here in face-to-face classes. And this year we were able to get a PE teacher to teach an additional block that is for supplementary pay, but to be able to provide face-to-face instruction for our virtual students for driver's ed. That is a requirement. Also, when we add additional sections of PE, that allows students to also have more options to be worked into electives that might be singletons, where it's only offered 1 section in the semester, and that just allows them to have a more diverse and hopefully preferred schedule each semester. Go ahead. So obviously for the 32 additional students, we would be looking for, as Ms. Graham is affectionately known to refer to money from central office as downtown monies. We would like to look at that for those 32 students, and then to continue to work with the Department of Curriculum and Instruction to seek additional virtual engagement opportunities. I think that was Ms. Smith that noted that it's science courses looking for more opportunities to be able to have, I guess, more effective engagement with the curriculum and the standards when students aren't participating in person. Go ahead. So some facilities requests. We love the look of our new furniture in the English pod, and we would like to request to continue that trend and complete the 3 remaining academic pods before moving out into those satellite areas. And most of you are familiar with walking in from the Little Theater parking lot into the Fine Arts Department area. When you come in, you go to the left to band, to the right to choir, straight ahead to the stage. And we would like to request more secure and locking doors. Once someone gets into those doors right there, they have access to the remainder of the building. And we would like to make sure that that everything is secure within there and update that safety. Renovation of faculty restrooms. It's been a few years. We would like to be able to provide that for our teachers. We do have 2 very large, beautiful art classrooms now that are off of the Commons area. That was new a few years ago, that they do not have cooling in those 2 classrooms, and we would like to see that as an opportunity. And then lastly, but not least, to update the main office area, which includes the kitchen and the PA room. And the primary purpose for this request is to hopefully route traffic when folks enter into the main doors of Pulaski County High School, just by default of the building. I think Ms. Dillon mentioned this earlier in hers too. It does route a visitor directly out into the academic areas of the building. And we would like to route folks, just for safety purposes and knowledge of who is in the building at all times, to the left and directly into the office area. Go ahead. Student activity requests. As you can imagine, Mr. Vest was excited to have this conversation. So we noted several things. We are quite proud of Pulaski County High School. It is a beautiful campus, and this is the pinnacle of a student's educational experience in Pulaski, and we want to make it as grand as possible. Plus, we like when people from the community have pride in our campus. So turfing Joel Hicks Field and having a rubberized track at the field. Also to pave the road to the lower field house and fix the drainage in that area in general. We would also like to see that as folks come to visit our stadium, regardless of the purpose, whatever we are hosting here at the high school, that when they come in, we would like to welcome them that in a way that fits the ultimate grandeur of our stadium in general. And then we would also like to have a dedicated entry to the baseball field. That's just for general fan experience and to maintain ticket sales. And we would like to look at maintenance and replacement as needed of our bleachers in the gym. And then the final note we have on there is to build concessions and restrooms at our softball field. So we appreciate all of your time to entertain all of those requests. And of course, I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Bowling?
Ms. Bowling, I think you have 4 PE teachers, don't you? Were you
teaching 9th and 10th grade? Yes, okay. You're correct. We have 4 in the health and PE department. We have 4 in the health and PE department. Okay. Coach Dixon teaches personal fitness. So then we have Ms. Hayes, Ms. Long, and Mr. Dotson.
Okay, I thought there were 4. I just wanted to double check that.
Right, we're looking for that 4th person to teach the PE 9 and 10.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Bowling? I don't see anything that jumps out myself. I do know. Do you think, Jennifer, that we lose much in ticket sales, of course, in a normal baseball season, because it is hard to kind of keep up with folks trying to get to going into a baseball or a girls softball game?
I think we actually have a better streamlined process for softball just due to the road that goes back there. But as far as folks coming in from those main 2 student parking lots past the driver's ed tower into the general baseball area, if that was fenced in and kind of limited the point at which folks would access, we feel like we could maintain a bit better with the ticket sales, yes.
Did Scott give you an idea of how much lost revenue he probably expects this year due to not being able to have folks in the stands and in in the bleachers at ball games and so forth?
Not directly, but we can get that information if you would like.
Yeah, I would. I know that's had to have an impact. I'm curious to see if there's going to be any changes in regards to the attendance, what's allowed in attendance for football games. I hope to goodness it's going to be more than 25 people in Dobson Stadium.
Mr. Hurst, the Region 7 superintendents and the VHSL reached out to the Secretary of Education last week about that issue, and his answer was no, we're not changing it. It is a few more for the outside sports. It's 2 attendees per player, but that is still not sufficient when the band and cheerleaders also count as attendees. So, there's the potential if we use band and cheerleaders at the games that no parents could go based on the current rules.
It's crazy. It's crazy. For a stadium the size of Dobson Stadium, you could set people 10 feet apart all over that place and just, I don't know. There's no point in arguing it, I don't guess, but it's really sad that we're dealing with that.
Yeah, the only possibility of something different occurring would be if the governor would release different guidelines. So, he has previously, I think it was up to 250 people at one time. So that there's some hope that it may get back to that number. But like you said, we could space people out and probably still have, 1,000 or more people in our stadium and have everyone spaced out 6 feet apart.
Easily. And I'm sure Chris would probably know pretty much, what we bring in for, for athletics at the high school and so forth. But,
our athletic budget is close to $100,000.
Yeah. So it's, we've taken a hit right there this year, of course. And, hopefully it'll open up in the upcoming fall, next year's start of sports seasons. But, we've taken a huge hit this year. And I know that it impacts, the athletics at the high school and middle school and so forth. So.
Yeah, it's even more than that. The clubs that sell things at games, that do fundraisers, I mean, they're in a deficit this year as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Band, choir. I mean, all of them. It's drama. Yeah, I mean, everything. I don't know. It's just it'll depress you if you think about it too much. So, any other questions for Ms. Paul? Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
About yours, I believe that's all we have for this evening.
I have some questions, comments. I'm not going to let that go. Several of the schools asked for security cameras. I know that we have been able to get those in the past relatively easily. Josh, where are you, Josh?
So I've already talked to several schools. We're re-provisioning for internal cameras. We're re-provisioning the cameras that we had internally at Pulaski Middle School and Dublin Middle School to outfit some of those problem areas in the hallways.
Good.
So those get addressed. Just recently, I purchased 10 cameras so we could address a security need. So we could look at people entering the main entrance of the building. So you would have the A phone, you press the A phone. You'd also have a video camera trained specifically on that person. So the front office staff could see who's coming in the building, a full shot. So we're kind of making strides in the security camera area. So we've heard and we're trying to address.
Okay. Thank you so much. This seems like something that we manage to get done every single year, and I appreciate it. All your hard work in getting that done. Counselors, we have a lot of requests for counselors, PCHS-CTE Career Development Counselor. And again, I'm going to ask that we put on our priority list a counselor, full-time counselor for Snowville. And we have 2 full-time counselors at PES, because I talked to Mike today and they are bursting at the seams at PES. And I know that they need those 2 full-time counselors. I hope that the governor's proposal and his budget is going to come through and we're going to be able to get some counselors. Is there anyone graduating with a degree in counseling is my question. Are they there for hire and we just haven't had the money to do it, or is there just nobody out there to hire to do it? Maybe that's a Jana question.
I don't know the answer to that question, except to say that nobody expects there will be enough graduates this year to fill for all the retirements that are coming, because there are just so many people who are calling this their final year after they get through all that has been required this year with COVID. I think we're all anticipating that the retirements will probably be greater than the candidates that will have to fill the positions.
Dr. Cash, I know ours has been out for some time, and Mrs. Rash has been trying to help find a sub counselor for CES, and no one has been willing to come in and help us with that. So
go ahead.
We've been without one since before Thanksgiving at all.
Just thinking outside the box a little bit on that. I know in the past there have been like administrator cohorts in educational leadership to build, internal capacity for educational leadership positions and things like that. Are there divisions doing programs where if someone wants to lean towards school counseling, where there could be cohorts that would assist them? I don't even know how that works, but cohorts that would assist them in getting there?
Yeah, I think you have to have folks willing to go into those cohorts for them to start them up, and it has to be the funding has to be there for the colleges and universities to begin those type programs. I guess we have a little hope in that they may give school divisions some latitude to use social workers in place of counselors, and in which case I think we could get additional people in to help fill some of those roles. But as far as getting applicants who are certified school counselors, I don't anticipate that there will be enough to fill the vacancies for next year. I'm not saying Pulaski County can't draw a few in, because we do have a lot to offer, but as far as the state of Virginia, I don't anticipate there will be enough qualified candidates graduating from a program to fill the vacancies that are coming.
Can the same be said about art teachers and music teachers and PE teachers? Are we able to fill, do we have enough graduates to fill those positions?
I doubt it. I just, not saying that we can't attract some in from other divisions to fill our positions, but taken as a whole, I don't think there will be enough candidates to fill the teaching positions that are vacant this year. We're trying to get an early jump on things. HR has already posted generic job postings, so we have ready to go applicant pool, and as soon as we know someone's retiring or as soon as we know someone's resigning, we can look at that pool, and if those folks are still interested in a job, we'll call them in and try to expedite the interviews and get them approved and under contract as quickly as possible. The only thing is every other division is also doing that. So we're instead of competing in April, we're competing in February to try to fill positions for next year. It's and I don't know how you get any more ahead of the game than starting to hire people in February. It's a race every year that seems to get earlier in the year.
We have had problems even getting long-term subs to come in and fill in for this semester, from where we had so many kids out on virtual who are coming back face to face. I think we've finally gotten enough now to at least start tomorrow, but it's been a struggle to find those folks as well.
Okay. We need to produce more teachers.
No doubt.
It's a wonderful profession.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, if I could just say on a positive note, as I listened to all these things come in this evening, if you think of where we were 2.5 years ago in regard to technology, only a handful of teachers had laptops. No students had any devices to use. So in 2.5 years time, we have went to, we've replaced what, 50% or more of smart boards with Promethean boards. Every student has a device. Every teacher has a device. We've increased our capacity for anyone who wants to can pull into a parking lot and access Wi-Fi. I mean, it's just phenomenal what our technology department has brought into Pulaski County in the last 2.5 years. We went from being at the very tail end of where most divisions are in the state with regard to technology to now we're ahead of Montgomery County and Roanoke and many others in what we're able to offer. So it's a testament to the board, the technology department, the finance department, everyone who set this as a priority and made this happen. We are in a very good place, and before the start of the next school year, we're going to be in a great place with technology.
I couldn't agree more. I was thinking earlier of the job our technology department has done over the last couple of years, and especially this year. Getting us up and running this year was just an incredible accomplishment in itself. And there's no doubt in my mind that the people that's in on this meeting today are the right people for the right time in Pulaski County. I have no doubt about that. I think about the job that Jess Shull has done in operations, Jana and Chris in HR and finance, and the work that they're doing with dealing with all these COVID questions that are coming in daily. I can't imagine, how busy they have been. The principals keeping your schools up and running and moving kids forward to the best of your ability right now. Every day we see things in the news and we hear things that are pretty negative about education. But Pulaski County is probably, and under the leadership of Dr. Sears as well, has stepped forward as much and done as much as any division this side of the state by far. And Etheline Sadler has fed every kid in this county, I believe, more than ever before, and making sure that kids have something to eat. So it's really an honor to be on this meeting with this group right here. Just tremendous people to be in leadership in our division. So any other questions or comments from any of our board members? We've been a little bit quiet out here and everybody's done a good job, but any other comments from our board members? Becky, you're quiet. I can't believe that.
I'm practicing.
Mr. Benson, anything to add?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Ms. Golden?
No, I don't think I have any questions.
Okay.
Everybody done a great job with presenting and the request. So
Super. Okay. Again, thank you all. We will, I guess we'll start doing some deep dives into some of this and see, as you're all aware, we all have our wish list at the beginning of each year, and some things we're able to do and some things we're not. And but we're starting out in a pretty good place this year, so we'll see where we can go with this. Dr. Sears, anything else you needed to add?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, that'll take care of us for today. Then we will. I guess we're back up again on what, February the 16th. Does that sound right?
Yes, we've got our regular school board meeting next Tuesday, and then the next budget meeting on the 16th.
Okay. Thank you all for attending. We'll go ahead and adjourn. Y'all have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Bye, everybody.